Oh, Power Platformers. In today's video, we're going to have a look at what are the main differences between a model-driven app versus a Canvas app. So when we are talking about building a Power Apps, usually there are two variants that we are looking into. Either we'll be building a model-driven app or we will be building a Canvas app. But what are the main differences and in which scenario should we use which variant? So this is what we will cover in today's video. And we will also build an app using model-driven app. And in our next video, we will build a Canvas app to show the differences as well. So let's just start with looking at the key differences. So when we're talking about model-driven app, as the name implies, the app is driven by the data model. So that means before you start building an app, you need to have a data model in place. And that app will be based on that data model. And that data model will be in Dataverse, previously known as CDS. So you need to have that data model built in your Dataverse as entities and fields within the entities, and then you can start building your app. So that's the first thing. It will be driven by a data model. Secondly, it will have a UI consistency. So if we are talking about an app and our main concern is to have the UI, that means all the forms that are part of that app to be consistent across, then this is one benefit that we get from model-driven app as well. Process-centric. So if our app is going to cover an end-to-end process, that means from the start of the process all the way to the end of the process, including all the data entry points and all the approvals that comes into play, then we will be looking at a model-driven app. Low to no code. When we are building a model-driven app, then we are not in most of the scenarios doing any coding whatsoever. We are most of the time doing configurations, and we are making sure that the components and the data model that we have defined is efficient enough so that we don't really require to do any coding. One of the examples of using model-driven app for building an app would be an end-to-end process like an asset management, where you will start off by defining assets, and then you will assign those assets to your employees. Another good example would be any kind of management process like contract management. So you can think of many processes like that, even expense management, travel management. So whenever we are talking about a process end-to-end, model-driven apps is something that is coming to our mind. All right, so we spoke about model-driven app. Now, what about Canvas app? Now, in contrast, Canvas app are driven by the design. So as the name implies, Canvas. So when we are building an app, we already have a design that we are going to follow. And that doesn't have anything to do with the data model or the data entities itself. It is purely based on the design that is provided to us in the form of a wireframe or in sketches or whatever you are using for basically designing your app design. So if you have a design, if you have a wireframe and you need to build an app based on that wireframe, that will mean that it is driven by design, and then you will be considering a Canvas app instead of a model-driven app. So with that comes UI flexibility. So with Canvas apps, we are very flexible to the way we are going to design our user interface. So we have a lot of different components available that we can utilize in order to design our user interface in order to match whatever wireframes that are provided to us. And we can also build our components using component framework in order to fulfill any gaps that comes into play when we are building our app. Now, most of the time when we are building Canvas apps, we are looking at a task-centric app. So imagine a task that needs to be completed. That Canvas app can be used for that. Now, we are not talking, although we can build end-to-end processes, apps using Canvas apps as well. But the main purpose of Canvas app is to provide a way to build task-specific apps. Again, when we are talking about Canvas apps, I haven't seen a scenario where there will be a completely no code app, especially when we are talking about a professional or a production app. So there will be some coding involved. So that's why we would say a Canvas app will be most likely a low code as compared to model-driven, which could be in most scenarios a no code solution. One example of such apps could be a timesheet app where you are managing your time every day. So it's a task that you need to perform every day, and you need a specific user interface for that. So a Canvas app will be a good candidate for building this kind of app. All right, so now let's have a look at more how does these model-driven apps look like compared to Canvas app. So on the left, you can see that there is a model-driven app, which I built in my previous project. And you can see that the user interface is very consistent, very data-driven, and it will be similar if you are building multiple model-driven apps, then all the user interface will be completely similar to each other. And if you are building them in a Dynamics 365 environment, then they will be more or less exactly the same. Whereas if you are building a Canvas app, you can see that you have a lot of components to play with. You can have, basically, you can have any type of design that you want to build. And you can define that app based on that design rather than based on a data model. All right, so couple of questions that we would ask before we proceed or before we build an app is, what is my data source? Where is my data coming from? So if the answer to that question is Dataverse, then we have an option of building an app on building a Canvas app or a model-driven app. However, if our data source is not Dataverse, so let's say our data source is SQL Server or it's SharePoint list, then it will most definitely be a Canvas app. Again, a model-driven app can only be built on a Dataverse data model. Another question is that usually comes up is, do I need to design a complex user interface? Again, keep that in mind. Model-driven apps are not built for complex user interface designs. The user interface will be similar, will be consistent, but will be very simplified and will be driven by the data model. So if you are if you need to build a complex user interface, I would recommend to use Canvas app. And in most cases, that will be the only choice you have. But if not, and in your project, there's a flexibility of building user interface that is not complex, that is driven by data model, and that is consistent, then model-driven app would be a good candidate for that. All right, so we have talked enough about model-driven apps and Canvas app. Now let's start building a model-driven app. All right, so let's jump into our PowerApps Studio. And as we mentioned, in order for us to build a model-driven app, we need a data model. So we will start by building our data model in Dataverse. So in order to build the data model in Dataverse, we need to start by creating entities or creating tables. So we are going to build an asset management database. So there are a lot of entities that are already available here. These are all out-of-the-box entities. Now we're going to create a new entity called assets. Let's call it assets data. All right, so the primary column, we can just use it as is. And now that we have our entity, we will start creating fields for that entity. So for my asset, I'll need a name, I'll need a description for the asset, which could be, so there are several data types available here. Now I'll need a bit more than just text, so I'll use text area for that. You'll see that there are a lot of fields that are already here, and these are all out-of-the-box fields, and we'll see how they are utilized later. All right, let's just add a couple of more fields. I would like to add asset type. So an asset type is going to be a choice field for me. So let's put choice here, and you'll see that we can either use one of these out of the box fields, or if we have already created one, then we can use that as well. So for me, I already have one that is similar to what I need. We can also edit the choices, so I'm okay with these choices. And that's about it. So let me add, I think that's enough for us to start off with. Now, one more, so let's save this table. Now we have our primary assets table that will have all the assets. I will need one more table for this scenario, and that is going to be asset assignment. So once our assets are created, I need another table to store where these assets are going to be assigned and to whom it is going to be assigned to. So that's the one for that. Let's create that. Now I'll add a asset column to it, which is going to be a, all right, so let's see where this says lookup. So this is the lookup column. And I know that my entity, my table for that is assets demo. So I'll use that. Let's keep it as optional for now. All right, I'll assign it to a user. So for that, I will need a lookup field again. And this time I will use an out-of-the-box table called user. Now this table will have all your users' information in there. And I'll need another field for approved by. So I'll need that. Basically, I'll need it for once the asset is assigned, I want someone to approve it as well. So let's do that. Let's use the same lookup and same user field. All right. And let's add just one more for Google comments. We have a multi-line text here for that, and that should be sufficient for this scenario. All right, so again, it's not anything like complete asset management tool, but this is just a demo to show you how you're going to build a model-driven app. All right, so once our table is saved, now we have our data model. So basically, in our scenario, our data model has two tables: assets demo table and assets assignment table. And we're going to use these in order to build our app. So let's jump into app, and let's start by creating a model-driven app. All right, I'm happy to use classic app designer because I'm quite familiar with it and it makes it easier in some scenarios. So let's call it asset demo app. And so here you can actually provide an icon. So you can either use the default icon, or you can use, well, some of the other provided icons as well. All right, this one looks, let's keep with that. And all right, so all we need to do here is this for now. And let's just click on done. Now, this is basically our model-driven app. Now, first thing that we need to do in our model-driven app is to set up the forms, right? So here you will see that here you can see all the forms. Then you'll have views. So basically, if I go here, first thing is I need to select which. As a matter of fact, yeah. All right, so let's select the entities that we are going to use for this example. So we need assets demo and asset assignment. So we need two entities that. And now if I jump into forms, I can see those forms popping in here. I want to set up form for the asset itself first. So if I click on edit here, you will see that it will open up the form designer. And let me just drag it here so you guys can see it. All right, so this is our form designer. As you can see, it doesn't have all the fields, but we can easily add those fields up here. So you can see a plus form field option here, which allows us to add the missing fields. So I need description, I need asset type, and that's pretty much it. Now, as we are doing that, you can see that there isn't much we can do with respect to where we put in the fields or how we display them. So this is where we are talking about the consistency of the user interface. Again, it's pretty restricted, but at the same time, it is very consistent. So let's just call it new section. And that's pretty much it. That's all we need. So there are some things that we can do here, like we can provide a header if we want to have a header. And some other options that we can use, but we are not going to use it for now. We're going to keep it as it is, and then we're going to save it. And one important thing here is to publish it. Otherwise, we won't be able to see the changes, and we need to come back here again. So let's just keep that for now. And so now it is published. Let's just close it. And now if I save it, it will give me an option to publish. And if I publish it here, all right, one thing that we need to show is, so you can see over here, there's some configuration missing for the sitemap. Now let's edit it to see what is here. So we don't have anything here at the moment. Basically, first thing is we need to select which entity we are going to use. So you'll see you can select entity from here. And this will allow you to select your entity. So if I select assets demo, and let's just keep it all as it is. Let's call it asset entry, just so that it's easier for us to understand. And let's add one more area. So sorry, let's add one more sub area. Now we can, as you can see, we can have multiple tabs, but for this demo, I just need one tab, and I need one more thing here, which is our asset assignment. So let me pop it in here. Assignment, and that's pretty much it for here. Let's save it and let's publish it. Now, hopefully this will fix up the issue that we faced before. All right, so you can see that this configuration is done now. Okay, now let's just open this up again. And now that we have saved it, we have published it. Now let's just try to play it up and see what it looks like. So you can see that these two entries appear here. We can obviously change this name to whatever we want. We can do it later, that's not a problem. But let's just see what happens if I create new now. So right now, this is our main entry form. So I click on new, you can see that I can create new asset. So let's add a laptop, for example, using ThinkPad. So I'll add that. It's a laptop, and it is a good laptop. All right, let's just save that. And that's pretty much it. Now, if I go back, you can see that this option is available here. And if I go to asset assignment now, you will see I won't see anything here. This is like the blank or out of the box screen that we get out of, but we need to change it as well. So let's go back to our app designer. First thing that we noticed when we come to here is it doesn't show anything other than the name. Now, but in most scenarios, we need to add more fields to our views so that user can get more information about it. And this can be done from here. So the views is where you define all your views. There are multiple views available, but by default, we use asset active assignment. We use active view, and we can edit it so we can add more to it. All right, so let's just do that. Right now, you can see there isn't much here. Let's add, sorry. All right, sorry, components, column attributes primary, and I at least want to show them the asset type. So let's navigate to, sorry, we're looking at different. We're looking at asset assignment, but we need to look at asset demo. So if we go back, we click here, and we look at column attributes for primary. You can see asset type here, and we can just drag and drop here to see more information. We can also add more fields if we want. So that's enough for now. Let's just save and close it. And that's pretty much it. Now, the second thing is asset assignment. So let's quickly look at the form for asset assignment, and let's edit it to add more fields. So basically, we'll add all the fields that we need to populate. So let's come over here, form field. We need asset, we need assign to, and we need approved by. Right? We can lower it down all the way to the bottom. Owner is always the person who is creating the record. We can change it, but that's what it is out of the box. All right, let's publish it. Obviously, publish to save as well. And that's pretty much it. That's all we need to do here. Let's close it up. And again, let's have a quick look at the views, and let's just edit this view so that it has more information as well. We know that we want to show to whom it is assigned to, and we want to show who is going to approve it, and that should be enough. Yep, I'm happy with that for now. Let's save and close, and that's pretty much it. One thing that we can do here is we didn't really want to show it as new group. Let's call it something more meaningful. Let's call it asset management, because that's what we are. Mocking here. To save and close here as well. All right, so we have done the saving. Now let's play and see if we can get it updated. Right, so we still need to swell it. Oh, we can ignore the warnings for now. Let's refresh it. All right, so apparently, let's just do the save and close. And let's edit it again. All right, so the fields that we have added doesn't seem to appear. Let's have a look and see what's happening here. So assets demos, active views. This seems fine. Perhaps we didn't publish it. Yeah, that's the problem. We need to publish it every time, but that's all right. Do the save and close. Do the same thing for forms. All right, and I think that should be it. Let's try it again. There we go. Finally, we have got all the fields that we need in our view. And if I just click on this, then it will show me all of the information I need. All right, now let's quickly jump into asset assignment. And let's, as you can see, all the fields are here as well. And let's assign an asset. Let's just give it something so that we can remember it. We have the ThinkPad. Now assign to, I have another user which I can use here. Let assign it to Faisal and let me be the approval for that. All right, we can always use business rules to make certain restrictions so that owner cannot be the approver or the signer, but that's something different. And we won't be covering that for now. And let's just save it. And that's pretty much it. As you can see, as we save, since this entity has a related entity, which is the asset, if I click on that, you can see that it has the information that I need for, or we can add more to it later on. All right, so now we have seen how to add an asset and how to assign an asset. One last thing that we will cover today is the business process that we want. So once the asset is assigned, we want the asset to be approved. All right, and for that we can create a business process. So let's just quickly start creating a new business process, and we need to provide a name. So let's call it demo assignment, and we're gonna use it on asset assignment. So let's just see where our asset assignment entity is. Oh, here we go. And we'll click OK. And this will open up the business process designer for us. So basically, it's a staged interface that, and we can define multiple stages. So let's just start off with this one. If I click on details, the first one is data step. And in data step, we will identify the field that needs to be filled in order for this stage to be passed. So first off, what we need is we need someone to set assign to. And once someone has set assign to, then it can go for approval. We can have multiple here as well. So for example, I want one more data step here. And I also, along with assign to, which I have defined here. Sorry, we didn't click on apply. I also want the user to fill the approved by, because without approved by, we won't know who is going to approve it. All right, so we have done that. Now let's click on add to add a new stage. And in that new stage, what we will do is the approval can come and approve it and can provide the approval comments. And that's pretty much it. Now we know we can have some other fields like status to change it from pending to approved or rejected. But I mean, that can be done as well pretty easily. But for time's sake, we're just going to keep it as it is. But this will still provide you a bird eye view or a high level view of what you can achieve. All right. We have saved it. Now, one more important thing is you need to activate it. And that's basically mentioned here as well. Process may need further validations for activation. So let me just activate it now. All right. It is being activated. Usually it takes a couple of seconds. Seems like it's taking a lot of memory. All right, so that's pretty much it. Now we have activated it as well. So that should be enough. Let's just close it and go back here. And you can see over here, we have our business process flow activated and it is added here as well. We can edit it if we want, but we're going to keep it as it is. and let's just play it again. All right, so let's create a new record. Create new. Let's just call it and to use the same asset that we created earlier, and let's assign it to someone. And that's pretty much it. Now, once I click on save, you can see that if I come over here, both of these are passed and I can move it to next stage. Now, the next stage is approval comments. So I'll just provide some comments. Is approved and finish. And now our business process is completed. So if I come to that entity, then I can see that the process is completed for this asset. However, if I go back and if I open up this one, you can see that it is still on this stage because we haven't moved it to next stage. So that's all for today, guys. So in this video, we covered how easily we can build a model-driven app and how the interface looks like for a model-driven app. Now, in our next video, we're going to cover how to create a Canvas app, and we will see how it is different from building a model-driven app. Until then, take care, guys, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments below.